Good evening, everybody. Wow, what a full room. What a great night. My name is Brooke Cyprian, and I serve as the Development Director at Marsha's Place, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to the 2024 Night for Life. The Night for Life is dedicated to affirming the value and dignity of every human life from conception, and our goal tonight is to raise up lifelong invested ministry partners for Marsha's Place. Some of you in this room have been a part of this ministry for many, many years. And some of you, this is your first introduction to who we are and what we do. Regardless of where you find yourself on that, I'm so thankful that you're here and that you chose to invest your Friday night into Marsha's Place. To start, I just want to recognize our board. The Marsha's Place board has incredible people on it, and they serve us faithfully with their time and their talents, and I just want to honor them tonight. So if you're part of the Marsha's Place board, would you just stand and give a little wave? I know I'm putting you on the spot. They're all over the room. They are real champions for Marsha's Place and for life, and we're just so thankful that they're a part of our ministry. A huge thank you to Zion Baptist Church. Thank you so much for hosting us so well. The staff and all of the church members have been so gracious and helpful to us. I'm looking at you guys, tech team. You're amazing. Thank you for helping us do all the things. We love you. And just all of the volunteers, thank you so much. Each of you, if you are making those delicious desserts, or if you're greeting people at the door, and even our officers that are serving tonight, keeping us safe here, thank you so much. The next people I want to say thank you to, and it makes me overwhelmed because of my position, is the 60-plus sponsors that have graciously donated so that we could have this event. Sorry, I get emotional because it's so beautiful to see families, small businesses, church partners, and even big-time corporations sow seed into our ministry. It's so amazing, and I love our donors. That's why I love to build relationships with all of you. So thank you so much. I always like to take a second as the development director to explain to people when they don't know that as a Christ-centered nonprofit, we don't receive any state or federal funding. So all of the work we do is funded by you, by people just like you in our community, churches, businesses, families that advocate and love life. And we could not do the work that you're about to see, this amazing, important work that you'll hear updates from Jared, our executive director, and I know you saw images and photos in Holly and Avery and Ashley's stations, our truth talks, all of the amazing work we do, we could not do without people like you. And the fact that you've chosen this ministry to sow into, I'm so thankful. Sorry. I got emotional and lost my place. Really, that's really all I have left to say. Thank you for coming. I hope you're going to enjoy tonight. We have exciting things. Our guest speaker, Professor Nancy Pearcey, is a powerhouse, and we're excited to hear from her. And to get us started, I would ask Pastor Mike Spivey, Zion Baptist Church's pastor, to come and open us up in prayer. Thank y'all.
Well, thank you for that. I also want to tell you on behalf of our church family, we are so honored to be able to host this event tonight as we gather together as a body of Christ, as believers, to celebrate and honor and value that which God honors and values and celebrates, and that is life. So to that end, let's pray and ask the Lord's blessings upon tonight. Father, we do love you. We thank you. Oh, what a special honor and privilege that we have tonight to celebrate what you celebrate, what heaven celebrates. Father, your word is clear to us that you are the giver of life, that you are the sustainer of life. Even in our wombs, you knew us and knit us together. We are made into the image of Almighty God as we bear witness to that. Father, we also understand there is a real enemy. It's not flesh and blood, but a real enemy that is against life. Is one purpose is to steal, kill, and to destroy that which you create. And we understand that those who curse man that's made in the image of God also curse you. So, Father, we're praying for the new day that is coming soon, where there will be no more death. Until then, I'm thankful for friends and family and supporters that can support such an important organization as Marsha's Place that fights for life and helps mothers and young people out to celebrate that which you celebrate. So, Father, we're asking tonight that would be to the honor and glory of your name and for the good of your people as you would honor and bless tonight. It's in Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Well, good evening. Let's try that again. Good evening. It's great to see you all tonight. My name is Jared Marshall. I serve as the executive director at Marsha's Place. And again, on behalf of all of us at Marsha's Place, I just want to thank you so much for spending your Friday night with us. I'd like to begin tonight by recognizing a couple of special groups of people in the room. First, if you are a Marsha's Place volunteer, right? So whether you volunteer occasionally or weekly, if you teach a class, if you teach truth talks, if you've helped clean our building, if you serve on our prayer team, if you volunteer at Marsha's Place in any capacity, could I just have you really quickly stand up so that we can show our appreciation to you? Come on. Yes. Thank you all so much for the compassion and the grace that you minister to our moms and dads, our families with. Thank you for serving, many of you, sacrificially behind the scenes, doing the things necessary so that this ministry is possible. You are an irreplaceable part of our team. I also want to recognize another special group in the room. I'd like to ask our staff to please stand so we can show our appreciation for you. Thank you, guys. So Holly, Brooke, Avery, and Ashley, I hope if you're here tonight, you've had the chance to meet each of these incredible ladies. These women are on the front lines every day, putting their hands to very difficult ministry so that more children in the womb could have the chance to live, so that more moms and dads in our community can be equipped and encouraged as a family, and so that more people in our community can hear the life-saving message of the good news of Jesus Christ. And the work, I want to be clear, the work that these ladies do is very difficult, and it's also very rewarding. When the work gets difficult, when parents don't make the choice that we hope and pray they would make, when our clients' life circumstances are heartbreaking and sometimes just unfathomable, when the darkness kind of seems overwhelming, the Lord in his kindness always gives us that little ray of light, that reminder of why we do what we do as a ministry. And I was telling Holly, our nurse, I was telling her a couple days ago, this is my third night for life since coming to be a part of Marsha's Place. And all 3 years that we've held this event, we've had a mom choose life for her baby the week of the night for life. And that includes this week. We had a mom choose life for her baby this week at Marsha's Place. And I just share that with you to just say that's why we're here, right? I trust that that's why we're all here tonight. And I want to share those victories with you. Those are the mountaintops, the mountain peaks. We love those days. But I also want to be honest with you about the challenges that we face as well. We had another mom this past week at Marsha's Place who came to us because she thought she might be pregnant, and she told Holly, if I'm earlier than 10 weeks pregnant, I'm going to get an abortion. If I'm later than 10 weeks pregnant, I'll keep the baby. You can imagine what that ultrasound was like, right, as Holly's dating the pregnancy. The mom measured 9.5 weeks pregnant. And as I stand here right now, we don't know what choice that mom has made, right? So that's a prayer request right there at the start of tonight. Pray for this mom. Pray for the moms that we serve, the families that we serve here in our community. Some of the moms and dads who come to Marsha's Place see abortion as a way out, right? And indeed, by and large, our society teaches them to see it that way. We praise God that abortion is illegal here in Kentucky, but for someone living in our community who is seeking to obtain an abortion, the simple fact is that they can drive a couple hours to Carbondale, Illinois, in order to obtain one. Now, for a mom in that situation, for parents, a mom and dad in that situation, they're considering having an abortion. Sometimes people have the question, well, why would they come to Marsha's Place? Right? Why would they come to Marsha's Place? We're unapologetically, pro-life in our convictions. We're very honest and clear about that. So why would they come to Marsha's Place? Why do they come and see us? There are at least 3 reasons. One is that we're local, right? They don't have to drive a couple hours to see us. They can drive just a few minutes down the road. Number 2, we provide genuine medical care that's going to give them information they need to know, right? An ultrasound will provide them with information like, are they actually pregnant to begin with? How far along is the pregnancy? Is it a viable pregnancy? Is the baby growing in the uterus, or is it an ectopic pregnancy? These are questions that parents who are in that decision-making space, these are questions they need answers to, and they're answers that we are able to provide to them through our professional medical clinic. And then number 3, why would they come to see us? Number 3, perhaps most importantly, and thanks to all of you sitting in this room tonight, all of the services that we offer are completely free, right? Always free, meaning the families we serve are able to hear accurate information about all of their options from a source that's not going to profit financially from a decision that they make. Now, take all of those good things, right? All of that package of services that we are able to provide, which in and of themselves are very good things, very valuable, but add this very important truth to it. We offer all of these services in the name of Jesus Christ. We seek to meet every mom and dad who walks through our doors with the love and compassion of our Savior. We show them the immense network of support that exists for parents in our community, which you are here tonight representing. And we seek to be a voice for the one person in the room who doesn't yet have one, the unborn child. And we do all of this, and I say we, right? Us as a ministry, but I trust we as a community, we do all of this because we believe in the value of one life. We believe in gathering these resources together so that one more child could have the chance to live. And by God's grace, we have seen increasing numbers of lives saved through our medical clinic. We had 17 in 2023 who were saved from abortion at our medical clinic. We have 5 thus far in 2024. And we love those numbers. We want those numbers to continue increasing. But as a ministry, we are laser focused on the one. Meeting one family, each family with compassion and grace, extending the hope of Christ, and showing the support system that's available to them because we believe in the value of saving even one child's life. We also see the long-term value of investing in families one by one. The value in saving lives, yes, and also in seeking to change lives, to better lives, equipping moms and dads in their roles as parents, and thereby creating more stable and optimistic futures for their children. This is a ministry that we're seeking to accomplish through our Earn While You Learn program, which I hope you had the chance to learn about out in the lobby. Many of the quotes and feedback from clients that you've seen in the lobby and on the screen tonight are from participants who are active in our Earn While You Learn program. These are moms and dads who are completing education, both online and in person, in order to earn store credit for our baby boutique. right? And it's through the boutique that we're able to provide the diapers, the wipes, and formula, car seats, strollers, pack and plays, and much, much more. And just to give you an idea of the volume of the needs right now at the center, the volume of the needs that you are helping us meet. Right now, we have 70 families that are actively participating in the Earn While You Learn program, completing education and earning resources through the boutique. Thus far in 2024, right, through the first 3 months of this year, we've been able to distribute over $25,000 worth of free material resources to these families in our community. That's just calculating the value of the material resources. That's not including the value of the education, the Christ-centered mentoring, and the community that you help us provide to these families. So all that I've just described to you, that's the core of who we are as a ministry, and that will never change. We exist, our vision statement says we exist to see our community value every human life from conception as a gift from God. And I just say we take this statement seriously, right? This is not just a statement that's on the books that has no bearing on our day-to-day activities. Everything we do as a ministry is shaped by this belief. Everything we do as a ministry is built upon the biblical foundation that children are a heritage of the Lord, as we're told in Psalm 127. They are fearfully and wonderfully made in the image of their Creator. So whether you are a board member or a staff member, a volunteer, a supporter of Marsha's Place, I want to emphasize that the work that is on display tonight does not happen without the combined efforts of everybody in this room. Everybody gathered here tonight has a role in this ministry. Over the past 32 years, the Lord has sustained and grown this ministry, and He has done that through the sacrificial giving and through the selfless service of His people. So tonight we have some exciting things that we'd like to share with you about our ministry, a vision of where we're going in the future as a ministry. So out in the lobby, if you were able to explore, we have displays for our medical services, for our Earn While You Learn program, for our Truth Talks program, where we teach 2,000 middle school students in our community, in our county every year. But Lord willing, next year at the Night for Life, we're going to have to make room for a new display, a new ministry that we've been praying about and working toward for nearly 2 years now. But before I say any more, I want to say this up front. Since coming to Marsha's Place almost 3 years ago now, I have often prayed that the Lord would do something through this ministry that could only be explained by His power. Right? We want to be used by God. We want Him to do something through this ministry that cannot merely be explained by just our combined efforts. We want to be used by God. And what we are going to be sharing with you tonight, I want to be very clear up front. What we're going to be sharing with you tonight and laying out the vision for will only happen through the Lord's power. And as with all of our current ministry, it will only happen through the combined efforts of everybody in this room tonight. And so with that being said, I'd like to introduce you to what we believe will be a transformative program for some of the clients that we serve. We're calling it the One by One Project.
Imagine that you are a young woman and you have 2 small children, and then suddenly life happens and you find yourself momming with the 2 littles, and you get in your car, or maybe you put them in a stroller and you walk down the sidewalk because walking away is all you can do. You have no safe place. You have no bed for them to sleep in. You have no diapers and wipes. And what then? For those moms that are working so hard, we knew at Marsha's Place that there had to be more that we could do. We're not just gonna stop with our education and our diapers and our wipes and baby formula and baby clothes and all the incredible things that we do. But for one mom and her family, we could do a little more.
One by One Project is Marsha's Place next step in changing the lives of young mothers here in our community.
This would be specifically targeted for Earn While You Learn participants here at Marsha's Place.
Hi, my name is Avery Haas, and I'm the Client Care Director here at Marsha's Place. I'm over the Earn While You Learn program, which is an education-based program for moms in our community. They participate in online and in-person classes, learning about topics like parenting, relationships, life skills, Christ-centered living, all things that they need to be a successful parent. Based on what we were able to do in the Earn While You Learn program, we are now able to take this a step further with the One by One project.
It is transitional housing, and it truly is a plan to help to alter the direction of a mother's life.
The special thing about this project is not only is it affordable, safe, clean, nice housing for a single mom and her children. That's fantastic in and of itself. But the special part about this program is the support system that's going to be wrapped around that home. So personal, relational support here with Marsha's Place, with the staff and board and volunteers, the community of support that we have at Marsha's Place. The program's going to be focused on three main pillars, those being
discipleship, education, and life skills.
I think that the One by One project is going to be a solution for some of the clients, the moms that we already serve here at Marsha's Place. We see moms come in and they tell us already that they're sleeping on different friends' couches, whoever will take them in that week. Maybe they're sleeping in their car, or they're staying with a family member, but it's not a great, healthy relationship, and so they don't know how long it's gonna last. And that's why we're taking steps to offer transitional housing long-term for single moms.
Single moms have been special to Marsha's Place from the beginning for over 30 years now. This program is going to specifically target single moms here in our community. Our pool of candidates is going to come from our active Earn While You Learn participants. This will enable us to get to know these moms. Our staff here do such a wonderful job of investing in these mothers' lives, investing in the families and in their children. And so being selective, identifying who we want to approach with the opportunity to live in this home, that's going to be crucial, we feel, for the program's success moving forward.
I got pregnant when I was 18, and I believed at that time that I had two options. I could either go home to my parents, or I could move in with my, at the time, boyfriend. I can remember discussing that with my mom, and she so kindly told me I would not move in with my boyfriend. So I moved back home. I was welcomed and very supportive family that loved me and provided a roof over my head, but much more than that.
Some people know my story, but a lot of people don't. I was in my early 30s and I found myself going through a divorce. And like that, became a single mom. And I had nowhere to go. I had a job. I made decent money, but I still couldn't financially provide everything I needed for my two small children. And the good news was that I had a mom that said, "Come on home."
My mom really, she taught me all of the mom things, you know, like what to do when your baby has a fever or a diaper rash, what to do when they won't sleep at night. I ran to my mom for all of those questions, and she was always there.
Fast forward some months, I found myself expecting another child. Never thought that that would be my story. And here I was, single mom of two, sleeping in a bedroom at my mom's house. The moms that we serve, sometimes they have no one.
A lot of the girls that we talk to here at Marsha's Place, when they tell me their stories, they don't have a mom and dad like I had. They didn't have the support system of someone to tell them what to do when their baby had a fever or when they had a diaper rash. The One by One project is just that. It's not just a roof over their heads. It's not just rooms in a house, a kitchen and bathroom. It's not just that, but it is It's more of a group of people that stand in that place of parents, basically. It's a group of people that are taking on loving them and teaching them how to be a mother, encouraging them to go back to school, in every step of the way directing them back to Jesus. Every step telling them, this is how you develop your relationship with God. And this relationship with God is going to be the most important relationship of your life.
That's why it's so important for this project to exist, because we get to be the community for them. We get to be the support. Every woman that walks through these doors that doesn't have a mom that says, come home, my heart breaks for them, because we just want to be the moms that say, come home. We have a safe place for you. We can help you here at Marsha's Place. And that's what excites me about the One by One project. It's a game changer.
Had always been a dream, long been a dream, of being able to provide housing for the moms, the families that we serve.
My husband and I started as donors here at Marsha's Place. So from the perspective of a volunteer, I sat here in the front entryway of Marsha's Place and welcomed our mothers and gave them the personal items that they needed, material needs around diapers and wipes. And at that point, I recognized that the moms each had a story to tell, and they had needs beyond material needs to be met.
One by One project is not a short-term shelter for moms and their families. What we have decided to pursue as a ministry is long-term transitional housing, partnering with a single mom to better her future and the future of her children for generations to come.
My hope for the One by One project is certainly impacting lives one by one of these single moms.
You know, within the span of a year or 5 years or even more down the road, that more moms in our community are just secure and taken care of. My hope for this project is that one day we will have not just one house, but 12 houses, that we are able to help 12 different single mothers at the same time.
We believe one by one, that phrase actually captures the heart of what we do and what we believe as a ministry.
I'm excited about this project because I get to know incredible moms, and sometimes I leave conversations or situations just wanting to bring them home with me and keep them safe and provide them with what they need. And so having the housing project allows me to kind of do that in a different way, to bring them to a home where I know they're safe.
It will not just be a temporary change and a transitional home for 2 to 5 years, but that it'll truly be a lasting change, and a lasting change for families in the future.
We want to provide the immediate resources necessary to help families who are walking through an unexpected pregnancy. We are always going to do that. The pregnancy testing, the ultrasound, the Earn While You Learn program, we want to continue to provide for those needs into the future. We also want to start thinking long-term about how we can alter the direction of some of these families that we have the privilege of serving. That's what the One by One project is all about. So just to summarize, the One by One project is about providing a small home for one single mom and her children. Now, Lord willing, more in the future, right? But we're going to start with one, investing in her over a period of years to better her future and the future of her children. I know you're going to have questions, okay? A lot of questions still to be answered. So we have a couple of resources to help you out. When we dismiss tonight, every family can receive one of these. This is a One by One booklet. This is a deep dive, in-depth explanation of the vision, the heart behind this program. And if you have further questions and want to learn more about how you can be involved with this project, I also want to draw your attention to a couple dates in the month of May. On May 15th and May 22nd, we're going to hold a couple lunch and learns, specifically about the One by One project, where you will be able to hear directly from us, and you'll also be able to ask us directly questions that you have, provide feedback to us. So you can sign up for these lunch and learns right now. You can scan that QR code and sign up. They are limited to 10 people on each of those dates, and if those dates fill up, we'll add more lunch and learn dates in the future. I just want to stress, we are inviting you into this process. I am inviting you into this process. There's still a lot of work to be done. Again, we're showing you the vision tonight of where we're headed. There's still a lot of work to be done, a lot of details to work out. We invite your questions. We want your feedback. And I really believe one of the greatest tools that God has given us to help refine this project into what he wants it to be is you, our partners. So we invite your question. We invite your feedback. On that note, I would ask you also to pray for the One by One project. Pray that God would guide us and direct us and give us immense wisdom as we continue to craft this program. And pray also for the mothers and their children who could be impacted, whose lives could be changed through this project. We truly see this program as an extension of the work we're already doing, coming alongside mothers who have chosen life for their children and providing them with the support system that they need to thrive. That's what we're about at Marsha's Place. One author said it this way, I quote, "A creative response to abortion is the work of pregnancy centers that give support to people who experience a problem pregnancy. These centers offer practical help, social support, financial assistance, clothing, and child care for pregnant women and their children. In the United States, there are roughly twice as many pro-life pregnancy centers as abortion clinics. These centers are all or mostly operated by Christians. Secular people who claim to care about women are missing in action when it comes to giving practical help to women facing a difficult pregnancy." Well, that quote is from a fantastic book called Love Thy Body, and the author of that book just so happens to be our guest speaker tonight, and she's sitting down here in the front row. Part of our desire, just to let you into this, part of our desire at this event is that we would engage both your heart and your mind, right? That you would see the impact of your partnership with us at Marsha's Place, that you would see the lives that are being changed, but also that you would be equipped to compassionately and graciously and knowledgeably, confidently defend the pro-life position from a Christian worldview. And that's why we're so excited to have Professor Nancy Pearcey as our guest speaker tonight. Nancy Pearcey is the author of Love Thy Body, Answering Hard Questions About Life and Sexuality. We have copies for sale in the lobby. She's also the author of The Soul of Science, Saving Leonardo, Finding Truth and Total Truth. And her newest book is titled The Toxic War on Masculinity. She's a professor and scholar in residence at Houston Christian University. She has been quoted in The New Yorker and Newsweek, highlighted as one of the top 5 women apologists by Christianity Today, and hailed in The Economist as, listen to this, America's preeminent evangelical Protestant female intellectual. That's a lot of adjectives. I will simply say, and agree with what Brooke said, she is a powerhouse in the realm of Christian apologetics. We are so excited to have Nancy Pearcey with us tonight. Would you join me in welcoming her to the stage?
Thank you so much for that introduction. And I have had a wonderful time meeting people involved in this work. When I was on my way here, I thought, this is going to be fun. Because people who care about life are going to be loving, caring, giving people. And that's exactly the type of people I've met since being here. So I appreciate it. And my topic tonight is going to be based on my book, Love Thy Body. And what I do in that book is I show that in order to really defend abortion, you need to see how it fits in with other cultural issues as well. Francis Schaeffer, the great apologist, used to say, one of the weaknesses of Christians on these issues is that we tend to approach them one at a time, one by one. Like, here's an answer to that issue, here's an answer to that issue. But we don't see the underlying worldview that connects them all. So tonight my goal is to show you the underlying worldview that connects abortion to a host of other cutting-edge issues today. And the goal is that we can be much more effective. And I have had hundreds of media interviews on this book, to the point that I practically dream in interview format. Wake up with questions. And so I thought I would give you a chance to interview me tonight. Not literally, but I thought I would bring out the most common questions that I do get in podcasts and radio and so on. And so are you ready? Here's your first question. Start by telling us a little about yourself, about how you became a Christian. I love it when interviews start with that. Because my conversion, it's like the older I get, the happier I am that God got hold of me. You know, I'm more grateful now than when I was younger. And so I was raised in a Christian home. It was a Lutheran home. So I don't know how many of you know this. Well, maybe here you do. But most Scandinavians are Lutheran. So it's a very ethnic background, like all Irish or Catholic. And as a result, there wasn't a lot of really personal commitment from my parents. And when I started asking questions as a teenager, I couldn't get any answers from the adults in my life. I was just really asking one question. I just was asking, how do we know Christianity is true? Right? I'm going to a public high school. All my books, all my textbooks, and all my teachers are secular. So I just was asking my parents, how do we know Christianity is true? I asked a college professor, point blank, why are you a Christian? He said, works for me. I said, what? That's it? And I had a chance to talk to a seminary dean, and all he said was, don't worry, we all have doubts sometimes. Like, it was a psychological phase that I was going through. And so about halfway through high school, I very intentionally walked away from my Christian faith. It struck me as a matter of intellectual honesty that if you don't have good reasons for something, you shouldn't say you believe it, whether it's Christianity or anything. And I obviously was not getting good reasons, so I decided it was up to me. I literally thought, okay, I'm going to survey all the religions and philosophies that are out there and decide which one is true, which is fairly ambitious for a 16-year-old. But that's when I started actively searching for truth. And I've quickly realized that if there is no God, then clearly there is no meaning or purpose to life. You know, there is no foundation for ethics. There's true for me, true for you. There's not even a foundation for knowledge. The way I thought of it is, if all I have is my puny brain in the vast scope of time and space, what makes me think I could have some sort of transcendent, universal truth? Ridiculous. That's how it struck me. And so by the time I graduated from high school, I had already accepted several secular isms, from moral relativism to skepticism to even determinism, because in my science classes we were taught we're just basically complex machines operating by natural laws. So I was primed for an apologetics approach. I don't think anything else would have worked. And so God did lead me to Francis Schaeffer's ministry in Switzerland. We had lived in Europe when I was a child, and so I had saved all my money in high school so that I could go back. And that's how I sort of stumbled on the ministry of Francis Schaeffer. And, of course, you have to, how does this work? Is that, okay, good. I'm using technology that I was lent from the people in the back there. So you can blame them if it goes wrong. So this is the picture of L'Abri. This is the initial chalet that it was. Chalet sounds like some sort of luxury home. But that's just what people live in the Swiss Alps. Farmers live in chalets. So this is where it started. And it was called L'Abri. And of course, you have to get a picture of the Swiss Alps. When I was there, I used to say, you know, if the arguments, the apologetics arguments don't convince you that God is real, the sheer beauty will. Imagine waking up to this every morning. And when I was finding these images, I found myself. I found a picture of me. And so the girl with the long blonde hair there, that was me, 1971. And somebody was there at the same time and had posted this picture on the internet. And as you can see, everybody at the time was hippies. And actually, that struck me at the time, because at that, no other Christians were reaching across that cultural divide and reaching out to these disaffected young people. And so I thought, who are these Christians that even hippies listen to them? And so that's why the rest of my life has all been about apologetics, about addressing the kind of questions that young people have today, because nobody was answering my questions when I was young. And so all my teaching, all my writing has something to do with apologetics, with arguing for the Christian worldview. Now, the problem, of course, is that the questions have changed. People are no longer asking, is Christianity true? They're asking, why are Christians such bigots? So here's your next question is, how do you answer that? What I do is I turn the tables. I show that it's actually the secular view, or the atheist worldview, that's harmful and negative. Why? Because it has a low view of the dignity and value of human life. And this is easiest if we jump right in with an example, and we'll start with abortion. A few years ago, an article appeared, and it was written by a British broadcaster who said she had always been proudly pro-choice until she became pregnant with her own baby. And then she began to struggle. She writes, I was calling the life inside me a baby because I wanted it. But if I hadn't wanted it, I would think of it as just a group of cells that it was okay to kill. To her credit, she realized that didn't make sense. A fetus doesn't become a baby just because somebody wants it. And so she actually began to research the subject and did a documentary on the subject. And at the end, she came up with this conclusion. There you go. She said, in terms of science, I have to agree that life begins at conception. But, did that work? Yeah. But perhaps, in terms of moral rights, perhaps the fact of life is not what's important. It's whether life has grown enough to start becoming a person. So what's happened here to the concept of the human being? It's been split into two parts. Right? If you can be human life at one point, but not a person until sometime later, then clearly these are two different things. So this is a radically divided, is that working? Yeah. This is a radically divided, fragmented, dualistic view of what it means to be a human being. And philosophers will sometimes describe this using the metaphor of two stories in a building. Right? So in the lower story is science. And today, most professional bioethicists agree that life begins at conception, that the fetus is genetically, biologically, physiologically human. The evidence from science, from genetics and DNA is too strong to deny it. So how do they get around that fact to support abortion? Well, they argue that merely being human is not enough to qualify for legal protection. The fetus has to earn the right to life by becoming a person, which is usually defined in terms of mental abilities, right? Something like a certain level of self-awareness, cognitive functioning, and even a conscious desire to live. So what are secular bioethicists actually saying then? They're saying that even though the fetus is biologically human, that's not enough for human rights. The fetus can be killed for any reason or no reason. It can be used for research and experiments. It can be tinkered with genetically. It can be picked through for sellable body parts, as Planned Parenthood does, and then tossed out with the other medical waste. And that's exactly how the medical journals describe the fetus after an abortion. It's medical waste. So do you see that being human is no longer enough for human rights? And there's a label for this view. It's actually called personhood theory, as you see on the slide. Personhood theory. What's the most obvious problem with it? Nobody can agree on how to define personhood. So a lot of people will say, well, the fetus becomes a person sometime before birth. But others will say, no, not until after birth. The two scientists who discovered the DNA structure, the double helix structure, Crick and Watson, have both gone on record saying we should give every newborn 3 days of genetic testing to see if it has any deformities. And only if it passes those tests does it have the right to life. Up until then, parents should have the right to kill it. Peter Singer, who's a ethicist at Princeton University, says even 3 years of age is a gray area. After all, how much functioning does a toddler have? So the lesson is clear. The concept of personhood, once it's separated from biology, it becomes arbitrary. There's no objective criteria. And every bioethicist will draw the line at a different place. Which cognitive functions count? How developed do they have to be in order to count? And so it's actually based on, we see that the fetus is human based on science, but personhood is based on their own private views and values. So what's happened actually is that when supporters of abortion lost the argument on the scientific level, they have shifted now to the non-scientific, non-empirical, arbitrary, subjective concept of personhood. So it's time to turn the tables. When personhood is rooted in biology, then we have a marker of human status that's objective, it's empirically testable, something we can identify scientifically. So today, it's Christians who are pro-science. We are pro-life, and we're the ones who are defending and valuing human life at the biological level. I better stop and let you ask another question. So here it is. You say in your book that it's the same worldview that's driving euthanasia. Explain how that works. The driving force, again, is personhood theory. It just in reverse, right? So according to personhood theory, if you're mentally disabled, if you no longer have a certain level of cognitive or critical functioning, then you're no longer a person, even though you're obviously still human. So at that point, many bioethicists will say you are only a body. I've seen that phrase used. You are only a body now. And as a result, you can be unplugged, your treatment withheld, your food and water discontinued, and your organs harvested. So do you see, again, even though they acknowledge that the human being is human, it no longer is enough for human rights. Let me give you an example. The euthanasia case that was in the news several years ago went all the way to the Supreme Court. Which one was that? Yeah, my students don't know anymore. They're too young. But you guys know, right? Terry Schiavo, right? And so to my students, I have to explain. She was a young woman who had cardiac arrest and suffered extensive brain damage. And the media presented it as a right to die case. But Terry was not dying. Her parents were happy to take care of her. It was her husband who was pressing the issue. He wanted her food and water discontinued. And it went all the way to the Supreme Court, and the courts agreed. So Terry was left to die of dehydration. But the core of the debate came out in a television program called Court TV. And one bioethicist asked the other one, "Do you think Terry is a person?" And the other one said, "No, I do not. I think having awareness is an essential criterion for personhood." So personhood theory says it's not enough to just be part of the human race. You have to meet an additional set of standards. You have to achieve a certain level of awareness, cognitive ability, in order to earn the status of personhood. And anyone who falls short is now a non-person. So there's a new category now, the human non-person. I was once invited to speak at an NPR program in San Francisco. I thought this might be a challenging audience. And before the program, the producer wanted to quiz me on my views, and so he asked me about my views of abortion, and he volunteered that most people think abortion is okay until the fetus becomes a person. And I said to him, there's a lot of baggage in that language. Because you're assuming that when the fetus is biologically human, that has no status or value or dignity. And you're assuming essentially a split view of the person that says that you don't have value until you achieve personhood status. And I said let me give you the slide here. I said the secular view is fragmented because what it assumes is that the body is disconnected from the person and has no value on its own. And I said the pro-life view is holistic because it says the body shares in the dignity and value of the whole person. The producer had obviously never heard this argument before. So I kept charging forward. I said the secular view is exclusive. It says some people don't measure up. They don't make the cut. Right? They don't qualify for the status of personhood. The pro-life view is inclusive. It says if you're a member of the human race, you're in, you count. You have the full rights and dignity of the member of what they call the moral community, meaning the people for whom we have a moral responsibility. So a few days later, I got a call from this NPR program saying, well, we've decided to cancel this show. That's why you never hear from us, pro-life people on places like NPR. They cancel us. Oh, what happened there? Sorry, guys. This is very sensitive. And I just lost it's not showing up on my it's loading. Don't worry, it's loading. I'll keep going. Oh, good, there. Okay, let's move on to the next question that I often get, and it goes something like this. The most surprising thing in your book is you claim that there's a common thread connecting these life issues like abortion to the sexuality issues. Now, explain that one. The common thread is that division of the body from the person. So take the hookup culture. The whole premise is that sex can be purely physical, cut off from the whole person. In Love Thy Body, I quote a lot of college students, like Alicia here, who says, hookups are very scripted. You learn to turn everything off except your body. You make yourself emotionally invulnerable. A student quoted in Rolling Stone magazines put it even more clearly. She said, the mistake people make is they assume that there are two very distinct elements in a relationship, one emotional and one sexual, and they pretend like there are clean lines between them. You see how she's almost verbally describing this split. Christians will sometimes say that the hookup scene gives sex too much importance. But actually, it gives it too little importance. Here's another Rolling Stone magazine interview. A young man said, sex is just a piece of body touching another piece of body. It is existentially meaningless. So do you see, once again, the secular worldview is saying that the human body has no meaning. No wonder it's producing a trail of wounded people. People are trying to live out a secularist ethic that does not fit who they really are. A college psychologist said the two most prescribed medications on the college campus today are birth control pills and antidepressants. She said that's not a coincidence. The Christian view of sex is incarnational. Right? What you do with your body is meant to express who you are as a whole person, so that the most complete and intimate physical union is meant to express the most complete and intimate union of the whole person in the whole life commitment of marriage. And science is on our side. Science has shown that the interconnection of the body and the person with the discovery of hormones like oxytocin and vasopressin. These are called the bonding hormones because they create a sense of connection, attachment, trust. A UCLA psychiatrist actually wrote a book on this, and she said, you might say we are designed to bond. I thought that was a great thing for UCLA. By the way, she published the book anonymously because she was afraid she would lose her job. She said, I was not allowed to tell the students that the hookup culture was bad for them. I was not allowed to. So she had to publish anonymously. So Scripture teaches that we are embodied spirits, right? Embodied spirits. They're both essential to our identity. This comes out really beautifully in the parallelism of Hebrew poetry, so that, sorry, my soul thirsts for you, my flesh yearns for you. Our soul has sucked down into the dust, our body cleaves to the earth. So you see what's internally experienced is expressed through the body. Keep my words in your heart, in the midst of your heart, for they are life to those who find them and health to all their body. So the inner life of the soul is expressed through the body. The Bible treats the human being as an integrated unity. I'd better stop and let you ask another question. And not surprisingly, the next question typically takes us into more controversial territory, like, what about homosexuality? Well, once again, the way to understand the secular ethic is it divides the body from the person, and it devalues the body. Think of it this way. Even among my homosexual friends, none of them really deny that on the level of biology, physiology, anatomy, chromosomes, males and females are counterparts to one another. That's how the human sexual and reproductive system is designed. To embrace a same-sex identity, then, is implicitly to contradict that design. It's to say, why should the structure of my body inform my identity? Why should my biological sex, as male or female, have any say in my moral choices? We have to help people to see, oops, I think I missed a, sorry. Yeah, there's a slide. I think I missed that slide. We have to help people to see, it's not always responding. Is there a trick to this? We have to help people to see this as a profoundly disrespectful view of the body. It pits the mind against the body and says it's only the mind, only your feelings that count. And so we can actually use our two-story diagram again to illustrate the divide. Now, some people will argue, well, wait a minute, if your sexuality is rooted in your genes, then they are being true to their biology. But there is no conclusive evidence of a biological cause. So we can quote the APA, American Psychological Association. This is right on their website, they say this. No findings have emerged that permit scientists to conclude that sexual orientation is determined by any particular factor. And in context, they've talked about both biological and genetic and social factors. In fact, research has found that about 80% of people who come out as homosexual change their sexual identity label at least once to heterosexual, bisexual, queer, and so on. 80% change their sexual identity label at least once, which means sometimes more often. This does not sound like a trait that is biologically determined. And by the way, this research was done by a woman who identifies herself as a lesbian. A magazine called The New Scientist reported on this data and said, it's time to get past born this way. In religious circles, sometimes you'll hear people say, well, God made me gay, right? Haven't you heard that from people? And I met a former homosexual. He's now married and has 3 children. And I thought he had a really good answer to that. He said, well, if God makes people gay, wouldn't that make him a cruel God? Because it would mean he's engineered their minds and emotions for attraction to the same sex, but he's created their physiology to be in direct opposition to that attraction. Would God create people to be torn in 2 conflicting directions like that? In the Christian worldview, things like conflict, self-division, self-alienation are results of the fall, not creation. And yet today it is widely accepted that if someone experiences that conflict between the mind and the body, it's the mind that counts. So what should our response be? Once again, what we should ask is, why accept such a demeaning view of the body? The Christian view is holistic. Our mind and emotions are meant to be in tune with our body. So it's an ethic that leads to self-integration, unity, wholeness, as opposed to self-alienation and division. In a real interview, sometimes I have to actually stop and let the radio host get a word in edgewise. And so often they will say something like, the most surprising thing about your book is that you claim that the secular worldview demeans or denigrates the body. I mean, that is not what we usually hear, right? We usually hear it's Christianity that has a low view of the body of this world. So explain that. Right? If a person does not believe in God, if they do think that the physical world is all that exists, you would expect him to think the physical world is really important. But surprisingly, it's the opposite. Why is that? It's because the secular ethic derives from the theory that nature is a product of blind, purposeless forces, and therefore the human body has no intrinsic purpose that we're morally obligated to respect. Let me give you this from the horse's mouth, so to speak. This is a very outspoken lesbian, and her name is Camille Paglia. Some of you have read Camille Paglia. Some Christians read her stuff because she's a little bit of iconoclastic feminist. She does not believe that sex is a social construction. She says, no, nature made us male and female. Or, here's her quote, our sexual bodies are designed for reproduction. Did you catch that word, designed? A strange word for an atheist. But if nature made us male and female, how does she defend being a lesbian? And by the way, she's now come out as transgender. Lesbian was not enough. She's now transgender. Either way, how does she defend that if nature made us male and female? She says, let me give you her exact words. She says, well, why not defy nature? After all, fate, not God, has given us this flesh. We have absolute claim to our bodies and may do with them as we see fit. Do you see the logic there? If our bodies are products of mindless, purposeless forces, then they have no intrinsic purpose that we are to respect. They convey no moral message. They give no clue to our identity. We may do with them as we see fit. So what does the Bible teach? It teaches that nature was designed for a purpose, and science is on our side again. It's evident to observation that living things are structured for a purpose. The eyes are for seeing, ears are for hearing, wings are for flying, fins are for swimming. The development of the organism from the beginning is directed by an inbuilt plan or blueprint, right? DNA. So nature itself tells us, science itself tells us that nature exhibits a design, a plan, an order, a purpose. So as Christians, we should stand out from the secular culture by having a very high view of the value and worth of God's creation. Let me give you a few anecdotes. The book is full of anecdotes. Don't think of it as just a book of moral arguments. It's got lots of stories, and especially since I now teach at a Christian university, I get lots of stories from my students. But here's one of my favorite ones. It's the story of Sean, who as a young man identified exclusively as gay, as homosexual. And today he's married and has 3 children, married to a woman. You have to say that these days. And has 3 children. What's interesting about his story was that he grew up in a gay-affirming family and attended a gay-affirming church. So he didn't think there was anything wrong with homosexuality. And so you ask, well, why would he change then? And here's what he says. I came to realize that as a man, God's original intention for me in creation was to be able to relate sexually to a woman. And this remained true quite irrespective of whatever failings I might have. And so he says, I did not try to change my feelings directly, which rarely works, but instead, my goal was to acknowledge what I already had, which was a male body, as a good gift from God. And eventually my feelings started to follow suit. So he did not defy nature, as Camille Paglia puts it. He accepted his body as fundamentally good, a good gift from God. And that's the question at the core of this debate. Do we live in a cosmos operating by blind material causes, or a cosmos designed by a loving creator, which is therefore intrinsically good? The next follow-up question, not surprisingly, is about the other cutting-edge issue of our day, which is transgenderism. So what's the worldview driving that movement? It's the same worldview. It's the same devaluing of the body. Transgender activists argue explicitly that your gender identity has nothing to do with your physical body, with your biological sex. A BBC documentary says, at the heart of the debate is the idea that your mind can be at war with your body. And in that war, of course, it's the mind that wins. And there's another BBC documentary for teenagers that says, the young woman who identifies as non-binary, saying, it doesn't matter what living meat skeleton you've been born in, it's what you feel that defines you. So the body has been reduced to a meat skeleton. Like Richard Dawkins says, right? You're just a meat machine. Jessica Savano is a male-to-female transsexual who created a Kickstarter page for a documentary titled, I Am Not My Body. That title says it all, right? You know, the claim that your body is not part of your authentic self. And I had to throw this one in. Whoops. My students all go crazy when I put this one up because they were all raised on Blue's Clues. And I said, well, did you see their gay pride parade? Where they essentially the message is that biology gives no clues to your identity. And it goes all the way down to newborns. It took a while for adults to even know that there was such a thing as gender-neutral parenting. Again, my students all knew it far before my adult friends did. But the Facebook page says, point blank, there's no such thing as biological sex. Okay, sure, people have bodies, chromosomes, and genitals, but calling this sex is a social construction rather than a biological fact. This is serious biology denial. And once again, do you see, it's that divided, let's get it up here again. It's that divided, two-story understanding of the human being, where, you know, that your gender, your biological identity is scientific, of course, but your gender identity has nothing to do with it. So being an academic, it's my job to read what the academics are saying. So I did read the first book that came out from a Princeton University professor defending transgenderism. And what surprised me about it, she starts out by admitting that transgenderism involves disconnect, disjunction, self-division, self-estrangement. I thought, this is a defense? This sounds like a criticism. But then she says, essentially, all of that doesn't matter. Why not? Because what the real body tells us, that is the physical body, what the physical body tells us is nothing. It has no meaning at all. So this is at the heart of what schools are teaching young people all the way down to kindergarten today, that their bodies have no meaning. Kids are coming home saying, Mommy, my teacher said, just because you have boy parts doesn't mean you're a boy. Just because you have girl parts doesn't mean you're a girl. There's a curriculum that actually, the Washington Post had that curriculum, telling first grade teachers that this is how they should talk to their students. And there was a lawsuit where one family took the school to court for emotional distress because their little first grader was coming home saying, Mommy, what am I? I don't know what I am. And she said, please take me to a doctor so we can find out what I am. So young people all the way to first grade and kindergarten today are being told, your body tells you nothing about who you are. What should our response be? Why would anyone accept such an extreme devaluation of the body? I read an interview with a 14-year-old girl who had lived as a trans boy for 3 years. She had transitioned at age 11, and then at age 14 recovered her identity as a girl. And look at this quote. She said, "The turning point came when I realized it's not conversion therapy to learn to love your body." And this came out after my book, by the way, those of you who've read it. It's not in the book, it came out afterwards, but it would have been a wonderful quote for a book titled Love Thy Body. And even secular people are starting to say that the transgender movement expresses body hatred. I got that quote from a secular website. So what this means is Christians have a wonderful opportunity to show that a biblical ethic is based on loving the body. It expresses a positive view of the way God made us as physically embodied beings, that the biological correspondence between male and female is not some evolutionary accident. It's part of the original creation that God pronounced very good. Now, you can't talk about these issues without somebody asking, what about intersex people? Are they trans? And so if I don't cover it, I always get that question at the end. So I'll cover it. What is intersex? Transgender activists often use the existence of intersex people to argue that there's not just male and female, there's a spectrum in between. And by the way, what is intersex? Intersex just means a condition where a person's reproductive anatomy is atypical or anomalous due to a malfunction in their hormones or their genes. So do they prove that sex is a spectrum? No. There's still only two gametes. There's still sperm and egg. There's no spectrum in between. And that's how we biologically identify male and female. So people with intersex conditions should not be used as political footballs by people who want to deconstruct the male-female binary. When I was writing my book, Love Thy Body, I was contacted by an intersex woman. She'd heard I was writing the book somehow. And so this was great. I got a chance to talk to some. They're very rare, right? They're less than 1% of the population. So I have had other people, as I speak publicly, other people come up to me. And so now I've met several intersex people. But here, let me give you her quote. She was very concerned that intersex people are being used, for political purposes. And she says, "How do you think it feels being a pawn in someone else's game? It hurts to be shoved into the LGBT camp by either side." Because sometimes she's run into Christians who don't understand what intersex is and think she's trans. So she said, that's why she says, by either side, churches do need to be educated on what intersex is. She had some very negative experiences with churches who said, "Oh, so you're trans?" No, I'm intersex. So that's why we do need to recognize intersex people. It should be treated like anyone else who has a physical or genetic difference. We should welcome them and show hospitality to them just like we would do with anyone else. What about political strategies? Practical strategies. Start with practical strategies. What if somebody in your family, your church, your school identifies as gay or trans? In Love Thy Body, another one of my favorite stories is a young woman named Jean who lived as a lesbian for several years and today is married to a man and has 2 children. What was the turning point? Jean says, I finally came to trust that God had made me female for a reason, and I wanted to honor my body by living in accord with the Creator's design. Do you hear that language? So often as Christians we're told that, you just want to heap guilt and shame on these people, right? Or if you are a same-sex attracted person who changes, it's only out of shame and guilt and self-hatred, self-loathing. This isn't self-loathing. This isn't a negative reason. I wanted to honor my body by living in accord with the Creator's design. So strategy number 1 is learn to use positive language. You honor your body, respect your biological identity, live in tune with your body, live in harmony with the Creator's design. And let's face it, Christians are known for often having a negative cast, right? It's wrong, it's against the Bible, it's a sin, and there's something wrong with you, is the message we often tend to convey. So we will win people's hearts if we start with the positive message that their body is God's creation, and that the biblical ethic is showing us how to honor and respect it. Secondly, strategy number 2, we can be proactive. Studies find that the strongest correlate of both same-sex attraction and gender dysphoria, far stronger than any genetic link, is just childhood gender nonconformity. That means kids who behave in ways that are more stereotypical of the other sex. I'll give you just one quote from the academic literature. So childhood gender nonconforming behavior is a consistent early predictor of future non-heterosexual orientations. In Love Thy Body, I tell the story of Brandon, not his real name, who suffered from gender dysphoria from a very young age. And by the way, that is the more typical form. Back when it used to be called transsexualism, it usually was males, and it was usually very young. So this was a classic case. Before he was even walking, his babysitter told his mother, "He's too good to be a boy," by which she meant he's gentle, quiet, compliant, and the things that we stereotypically associate with girls. When he was in preschool and his mother picked him up every day, invariably he was playing with the little girls and not the boys. By elementary school, he was coming to his parents weeping repeatedly and saying, he would say, "I feel the way girls do. I'm interested in the things girls are. God should have made me a girl." And of course, by his early teens, he was scouring the internet for sex reassignment surgery. So what did his parents do? First, they made sure that he knew that they loved him just the way he was. They did not try to change him. When I was in seminary, I had a friend who was a former homosexual, and he said, "My father was baffled and kept trying to push me into more traditionally male things like sports." And Brandon's parents did not do that. They didn't try to push him. They told him it's perfectly acceptable to be a gentle, sensitive, relational boy. It does not mean you are really a girl. His parents said it may mean that God has gifted you for one of the caring professions, like psychologist, counselor, healthcare worker. His parents' favorite line, which they said over and over again, was, "It's not you that's wrong, it's the stereotypes that are wrong." And of course, in the same way, it's perfectly okay for a girl to be gender nonconforming, to be more assertive or athletic or interested in the STEM subjects. In Scripture, the gifts of the Spirit are not divided by sex, right? You don't have a blue box and a pink box. The prophecy and teaching are not masculine, as we might expect, and mercy and service are not feminine. God gives them just as the gifts of the Spirit are given just as God chooses. Eventually, Brandon did accept, by the way, it took a long time. You've probably read this, but 80 to 90% of young people do end up accepting their biological sex during puberty, with a rush of hormones. Brandon did not. It was not until his mid-20s or so. It was a pretty severe case. But he did finally accept that it was scientifically impossible to become a girl. Here's how he put it when he was talking to me the last time. He said, a person is not a computer disk that you can erase and start over. And here's a TED Talk. It's become a very popular talk, and she's a cardiologist. And the most famous line from it is, "Every cell has a sex," right? So obviously, you cannot change every cell in your body. So today, by the way, to bring us up to date with the news, there are a growing number of detransitioners, and they are even bringing the clinics to court. Have you seen some of these cases that you're following? They've been bringing cases to court. Chloe Cole is bringing Kaiser Permanente to court. In England, Kyra Bell brought the Tavistock Clinic to court. That's the only way this is really going to change, I think, when they feel it in the pocketbook. And did you guys see that just yesterday or the day before, there was a new study out by the CASS report, CASS. Has any of you followed that? I haven't read it yet. I've just read the news articles, but again, it's apparently a very respectable study showing that hormones, puberty blockers, and surgery are not good for minors. The tide is starting to turn a little bit on these issues, which is really encouraging. So when we talk about these issues, we're often asked, well, how do other people's choices affect you? Why not just let them live the way they want to? The answer is that when laws are changed, that affects everyone. So my next strategy is to look at the laws. A free society is possible only if it recognizes that some rights are pre-political. What that means is the state doesn't create them. The state merely recognizes them as pre-existing. So take abortion. The right to life is the most fundamental of all, right? It's the right not to be killed. And the state did not create that right. It's a right you have just because you're a member of the human race. But the only way the state could legalize abortion was to rule that the fetus is human, but not a legal person worthy of protection unless it meets certain criteria. Which means what? Which means that the state essentially has claimed the authority to decide which humans qualify as persons and who therefore have a right to live. Based not on biology, right? Because they're acknowledging the fetus is human. So it's not based on biology, but based on what? Based on the state's own legal fiat. It's snatched out of the air. So essentially, the state has now claimed the right or the authority to decide who is a person, a legal person with the right of legal protection. Marriage is a pre-political right. Right? It's based on the fact that men and women naturally come together and form families, that humans are a sexually reproducing species. But the only way the state could treat same-sex couples the same as opposite-sex couples was to deny the biological component of marriage, to redefine it as a purely emotional commitment. And that's, if you want to understand what the Supreme Court decision, the Obergefell decision was about, that's the heart of it. It said marriage has nothing to do with biology. It's only a matter of an emotional commitment. Well, the problem is we have lots of emotional commitments. So who decides which ones qualify as marriage? Well, essentially, the state has claimed the authority to define which of our emotional connections qualify as marriage. And again, based not on biology, but on what? On its own say-so. So it's purely arbitrary. Parenthood. Up until now, who counts as the child's legal parents was based on biological relationship. The woman who gives birth is the mother, and her legal husband was presumed to be the child's biological father. And this was called the presumption of parentage for the father. But in same-sex couples, at least one partner is not biologically related to the child. And so until recently, that person's name did not go on the birth certificate. They could adopt, of course, but same-sex parents wanted to be treated exactly like opposite-sex parents. Anything else was discrimination, they argued. Well, in a 2017 decision, the Supreme Court agreed. It gave a same-sex couple, if they're legally married, the non-biological spouse has the presumption of parenthood. So essentially, the state has now claimed the authority to redefine parenthood without regard to biology. In principle, you are now your child's parent if the state says you are. Finally, until recently, gender identity followed naturally, organically from your biological sex. But the only way the law can treat a transgender woman, that is, somebody born male, the same as a biological woman, obviously, is to say the biology doesn't matter. And in its 2020 Bostock decision, the Supreme Court agreed. It ruled that sex in Title VII really means gender. So now the state recognizes your gender, whatever gender you claim, it does not recognize your sex. Your sex is invisible in the eyes of the law now. Only your claimed gender identity is legally relevant. So do you see the principle connecting all of these? Many of our pre-political rights are based on biology. And when the law no longer recognizes biology, the state ends up redefining those rights. And so the sexual revolution is dramatically increasing the power of the state. Now, one reason that Christians have been not always been effective on these issues is we have a divided way of thinking too, right? We call it the sacred-secular split, right? It's our own version of that divided sense of reality. And so here's how one of my students put it. Growing up in the church, I was always taught spirit good, body bad. Well, that's a pretty good nutshell. So my next strategy is recover our heritage, our own Christian heritage. When the New Testament was written, when the early church was born, the ancient Greek and Roman culture at the time also devalued the body and the material world for very different reasons, right? It was for reasons like Platonism and Gnosticism. Some of you know these terms because some of the New Testament books were written against Gnosticism, right? So you've probably studied that in a Bible study at some point. So, Gnosticism, and these all of these isms, Manichaeism also, because Augustine was a Manichae. All of these isms treated the physical world as the realm of death, decay, and destruction. It was evil, and so, in fact, Gnosticism said there were several levels of spiritual entities, and it was the lowest level. It was an evil God who created this world. Since this world is evil, it must have been created by an evil God. And so they denigrated the body as the prison of the soul, and the goal of salvation was to escape from the material world. So in this historical context, Christianity was nothing short of revolutionary, because it taught that the material world was created by the supreme deity, who is a good God, and therefore it's intrinsically good. And yes, there's been a fall, but the fall is like taking a beautiful artistic masterpiece, and a child, takes a magic marker and scribbles on it. It is defaced, but the original beauty still shines through. And that's how we should treat God's creation. The original beauty still shines through. But in the New Testament time, the greatest scandal was the idea of the incarnation, that same supreme deity had actually entered into the material world and taken on a physical body. So the incarnation was the ultimate affirmation of the dignity of the physical body. And at one point, when Jesus was executed on a Roman cross, we could say he did escape the physical world, as Gnosticism taught we should aspire to do. But what did he do then? He came back in a physical body. To the Greeks, this was not spiritual progress. They literally argued, why would anyone want to come back to the realm of the body? So the idea of a bodily resurrection was utter foolishness to the Greeks, as Paul puts it. And what's going to happen at the end of time? God's not going to scrap the material world as if he made a mistake the first time around. No, he's going to restore it and renew it. And he's going to give us renewed and restored bodies, so that from the very beginning, oops, I lost the slide. Okay, there's supposed to be a slide here for this, but the Apostles' Creed from the beginning has affirmed the resurrection of the body. I was talking to a secular person the other day, and she said, "You're right. Christians have taught that from the beginning." It was totally contrary to our understanding of Christianity. So, well, let's look at these quotes. You will never read these verses the same way again. Honor God with your body. The Christian worldview has an astonishingly high view of the physical world. There's nothing like it in any other religion or philosophy. And so we should be utterly excited and happy as we communicate it to people. Let me end with a story. Some of you may know her now. She's written a book. Do you know Laura Perry? She transitioned to male and successfully passed as a man for 10 years. None of you have heard her story yet. So, at first, and then she became a Christian. And at first, she thought she could continue living as a man. She said, I aspired to be a real man of God. But one day when she was praying, she seemed to hear God say to her, "You cannot claim to love me and yet reject my creation." And she knew what that meant. You can't reject your body. And so today she's living as the woman that God made her to be. So what is the answer to the secular worldview on all of these issues, from abortion to sexuality? It's to build a Christian culture that demonstrates that God loves, that we love God and we love his creation. So the good news is not just salvation. The good news is creation. That God created you, body and soul and body, and that he calls you to love your body. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nancy. My name is Julie Atkins, and I currently serve as a board member and volunteer at Marsha's Place. And I have the honor of closing out our evening with a few words and prayer. You've heard about many great things and a vision and how lives are being changed through Marsha's Place ministry. And our existence continues in order to see our community value every human life from conception as a gift from God. Tonight, for many of you, you heard about this 1x1 transitional housing initiative. And I just want to tell you, it's the 1x1 idea is not a new idea for Marsha's Place. That's how we've been operating for more than 30 plus years. Marsha loved and worked with young moms, provided support, emotional, spiritual, and physical during her time with them. In fact, her daughter shared a sweet memory of whenever she was a young girl and came home, and in their family basement, there were some young moms there that Marsha was showing love and support to. So even then, Marsha knew, just as we know today, that lives can be changed in a lasting way when we value one another. So I ask you tonight to join us at Marsha's Place in showing your commitment to valuing life, human life. And there are many of you who have been longtime supporters of Marsha's Place, and we so appreciate you and are grateful for you and are glad that you're here this evening. Some of you, though, may be new to the Marsha's Place ministry, so we don't want you to miss out on this opportunity to be a part of Marsha's Place. So I want to share with you how you can do that. If you take your program this evening, on the back, there is a section about giving. And of course, there's always a QR code these days to make it easy for you to donate. So you can use that QR code, go to our site. But also, with your program you were given this evening, if I can find it here, you should have received a donor envelope also. So if you came prepared tonight to write a check or put cash in an envelope, please do so, and we have our board members at our exits, and you can just drop the envelope there in the basket. Another way is serving. Again, go out to our website, check out ways you can volunteer. You can also call Marsha's Place. And lastly, prayer. We have a wonderful prayer team led by Margie Butler. But as each of you have your individual prayer times, please remember Marsha's Place and the protection of life. So as I close in prayer tonight, I just want to again thank you for your time here with us to celebrate and value every human life. Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, you are such an awesome God, giver of life, creator of all life and human life. And I just thank you for the opportunity to be a part of Marsha's Place. May we never forget or question the value of life, of human life that you've created. Help us to love as you love and have loved us. I just lift up Marsha's Place as we strive to make a lasting change in this community. And we give you all the glory. Amen. Good night.